Netflix has an unmitigated disaster on their hands with Season 3 of The Witcher, and Henry Cavill hasn't even left the show yet. I'm Troy with Marks on TV, and today we're talking about people tuning out in droves from The Witcher and the embarrassing reviews it's been getting. Now, on with the story. The link to the article I'm covering in this video is linked in the video description. Each subsequent episode of The Witcher Season 3 dropped sharply in viewership. The Witcher Season 3 does not seem to be going especially well for Netflix, a series that once felt like it could possibly be the service's Game of Thrones. Fans have been thrashing the new half-season in user reviews, mainly angry about Henry Cavill's upcoming departure. But more pressingly, viewership numbers appear to be dropping. I mean, sure, a lot of hate, even before the season came out, was directed at the fact that Henry Cavill was leaving, but we're going to get to other reviews that had nothing to do with Henry Cavill later on in this video. However, that's a pretty valid thing to get pissed about. He's not leaving the show because, oh, I just don't have time, or, oh, I'm just tired of playing this character like Daniel Craig with James Bond. I really just want to move on and pass the torch. No, it's pretty obvious that he's leaving because they didn't stick to the damn source material and decided to make this show yet another vehicle for intersectional politics. It's so damn tiresome at this point. This should have been their Game of Thrones. This could have been their Game of Thrones. There are tons of books, completed works by the way. Looking at you, George. There are also original stories and games. You had lots and lots to work with, but this is the way that it goes in Hollywood anymore. Take a popular IP, make it a DEI seminar, ignore the source material, mock the fans for hating it, bomb out, destroy the IP, repeat. Back to the article. Deadline reports that Samba TV data, not official Netflix data, shows that while 1.1 million US households watched the premiere, that's down 15% from Season 2. I suppose that's not the biggest drop, and it's certainly not unheard of to see declines as shows age. However, the more problematic stat is that viewers apparently gave up as the series moved through its 5 episodes. Yeah, no freaking kidding. And sure, it's normal to see minor drop-off, but this is huge drop-off from season to season, and now from episode to episode. Also, this is not official Netflix data because Netflix, along with all the other streamers, don't release official data. We just have to rely on trust me bro. That's one thing that the writer's strike is fighting for, is to see the streaming numbers, and that's one of the only things that I actually stand with the strikers about on the picket line. But let's take a look at these numbers, shall we? Episode 1 had 1.1 million viewers, Episode 2 only had 893,000, Episode 3 had 760,000, Episode 4, 602,000, and Episode 5, 505,000. So, by the end of the season, which can all be binged at once, the show lost half of its viewership. In contrast, all 8 episodes of The Witcher Season 2 drew more than 1 million viewers during their first week, according to Samba. And of course, Season 1 of the show was one of Netflix's most popular ever. But you can see the problem here, and this is before Henry Cavill has left, getting replaced by Liam Hemsworth in Seasons 4 and 5. If viewership is already dropping now, you can bet it's going to plummet once Cavill is gone, but Netflix is already committed to finishing the source material story regardless. Oh, they're actually using source material? That's a new one to anyone who's been watching. The official Netflix stats here, I'm not including the link because they literally talk about it in this article, are that The Witcher Season 3 has 73 million hours viewed so far, but it also has essentially no real competition. The highest profile series in the top 10 list is probably the new season of Black Mirror, where even after 3 weeks, it's still getting 28 million hours of views. And if Samba viewership data is right, those Witcher numbers are heavily skewed towards the premiere, and not that many people are making it to the end. You mean an original piece of television that doesn't insult the fans and sticks to what people used to love about it is doing well? Color me shocked and dismayed. The Witcher Season 3 still has 3 more episodes to wrap up the season, one of Netflix's splits, which they've done lately with some popular series, but in this case, it didn't feel like a good idea, and the cut point they chose in episode 5 is bad. Yeah, they tried to make it seem like some kind of cliffhanger, but it's really not. No one will see the reveal in episode 6 and be in shock and awe. It will probably be met with a yeah, and, or a yawn. At this point, I've already facepalmed my way through most of these episodes. Wrapping up this article, we'll see how the final 3 episodes are received, Cavill's last, and how seasons 4 and 5 go, which I cannot imagine are going to produce numbers anywhere near even these lower season 3 ones. Turning to Rotten Tomatoes, we can see that this season has a tomato meter rating of 85% from paid shills. Critics. They also have an abysmal, embarrassing 24% audience score. Hey, it's still beating out Blood Origin, which has 30% on the tomato meter and 13% from the audience. Let's take a look at what the shills are saying under top critics. Ed Power of the Daily Telegraph says, quote, "With wonderful grimy production values, it never looks like you're watching a bunch of cosplayers en route to Comic-Con. Yet for all those pluses, The Witcher struggles once more to tell a coherent story. Even the subplots have subplots," end quote. That's at least somewhat critical, but he couldn't go the distance. Clint Worthington of RogerEbert.com says, quote, "There's still plenty of high camp energy to get by. Cavill's arched eyebrows and taciturn grunts, his chemistry with the scene-stealing Shalatra, Beatty's frazzled comic relief, and the big-budget creature brawls," end quote. I'm sure Roger Ebert is spinning in his grave right now. Brian Lowry of the always trustworthy CNN.com says, quote, "Cavill could leave on a relatively high note thanks to a tighter, more focused third season, at least initially, than the second offered," end quote. I feel like we watched 2 totally different shows here. Then again, a lot of people hated Season 2. I liked it better than this season for sure. Finally, Eamon Warman from Empire Magazine says, quote, "With plotlines finally beginning to coalesce, this is the tightest, most action-packed season of The Witcher yet," end quote. Tightest, most action-packed? Sure, there were a few fight scenes. Episode 3 had a lot of plot shoved into it, but tight? In what freaking way? Also, I'd argue that action-packed is something you can't really describe any of these seasons as. Season 1, I'd argue, is the most action-packed, however. I'm going to cherry-pick a couple of audience reviews here. I'm honestly going for anything where someone took their time to write out a coherent review. You know, something more than, "This sucked," or "This is boring." One reviewer said, quote, "The production values were good, but fell asleep watching the episodes due to a boring storyline. Nothing of note occurs in it, as they spend most of their time clumsily fixing the mistakes of the second season. Maybe they should read the books to get a soul for the series. It is sorely needed," end quote. Another states, quote, "You have a great book, but you still managed to make a very boring TV series. The third season is extremely boring, but the first 2 seasons were not good either. It's not the fault of the actors, even if half of them don't fit in the Polish world, but the writers who have to change everything to create California," end quote. Yet another writes, quote, "Loved season 1, and then we got season 2 so bad. I'm a huge fan of the books, and since season 1, we've not got anything from them. Now season 3 is even worse than 2, not going to bother with this rubbish anymore," end quote. The best review I found on page 1 was a 4.5-star review that says, quote, "I really liked it, couldn't stop watching. Although I think maybe the last episode of part 1 was really weird, like why'd they repeat so much footage? Other than that, it was badass. Geralt makes it for sure. I like Ciri a lot as well, not too big on Yennefer though," end quote. This guy is trying to twist this any way he can to make it sound good. He said Geralt was great. Sure, that's a given. Then he says that he doesn't like Yennefer. She's a confusing, unlikable character most of the time, so I get that. But he states my same issue with the 5th episode. It's literally the same footage over and over, but from different angles, and we hear different conversations each time. It's really dumb, and then you've got the band telling us all is not what it seems, just in case you thought that maybe everything was what it seemed.
All is not as it seems.
Yeah. But this was all great? Sure, okay. Hopping over to Metacritic, as you can see, the Metacritic score from the shills is sitting at 70, and the user score is sitting at 2.4. That's bad. There are hardly any professional reviews, though, with 8 positive ones and 5 mixed, 0 negative. Of course. The user scores hit with 28 positive, 8 mixed, and 121 negative. Ouch. Yet again, though, it's better than Blood Origin. Not to set that bar on the floor or anything, but I'm trying to be a tad positive. Let me know in the comments section if you're liking Season 3, and why or why not. I honestly want your opinions, and I want to have a dialogue about this. Have you already tuned out? Do you even care about what's happening, or if they're sticking to the source material? Are you one that tuned out after learning that Henry Cavill was leaving, or are you hanging in there? Also, do you have any predictions for the rest of the season? I'd like to hear them. Also, please share this video around to everyone you know, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click that little bell to be notified every time we post brand new content. I've been Troy from Marks on TV, and we'll see you next time.